So Larry June has become one of the primary figures in modern day luxury rap. And you could also say that he has become one of the more consistent voices in West Coast hip hop in recent memory. So essentially, in this present era, if you are someone who wants to hear that smooth, low key, but motivational West Coast hip hop, then you will likely be tapping into Larry June. Now, on this new project, The Night Shift, Larry June and Cardo have teamed up once again. And if you have been following Larry June for years, then you will know of the strong chemistry that these two possess. I believe this is their fifth full-length collaboration as a duo. Now, earlier in the year, Larry and the Alchemist joined forces for the Great Escape Project, an album that some of you have as an album of the year contender. But getting right into The Night Shift, it is produced entirely by Mr. Cardo Got Wang. It contains 17 songs lasting approximately 53 minutes, and it is a bit longer than your average Cardo produced Larry June project. And like Larry's recent albums, The Night Shift is also very feature heavy. The guests include 2 Chainz, Dej Loaf, Schoolboy Q, The Alchemist, Blast, Too Short, Peasy, Jordan Ward, Payroll Giovanni, and Alaman. But with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. The opener, Clocked In, has Larry June checking in from LA. It has an exquisite backdrop of tranquil synths and this groovy guitar. Now that guitar is really something special here. Larry states, 2023, it's a different type of hoeing. They be on Instagram trying to come up on the cold one. And this instantly put me in the frame of mind of when the legendary Pimp C once said, "Pimpin' ain't dead, it just moved to the web." And at the end of the track, you will find some motivation in Larry June's words when he says, "Mama had me at 15 in the hood. I ain't even supposed to be here." So as a whole, this was a strong opener that really brings you right into Larry June's world. Track 2, Chops on the Blade. It has a serene soundscape. I like the piano melody and the cowbell effect. Really, it's just a definitive Larry June sounding track. And Larry wisely puts it, "It's only 2 bitches that I like, a trapping ass hoe and a square that keeps it solid." Next is Ocean Cuisine with 2 Chainz. Now this is a luxurious banger. The chili strings are really striking, and there is that slight trace of the blaxploitation sound as well. Larry's portion was cool, but I feel it was 2 Chainz who had more lines that stood out. His verse was just dope overall. He gave us some slick talk and humor mixed in with a jewel or two. Following this is Love of Money, and here we get Jewel's vocal sample from Bones' classic For the Love of Money. The 808s and the classy saxophone were a great combination too. I mean, you can't really go wrong with a For the Love of the Money sample. Larry boasts, "I fell off for 3 seasons, still managed to be the cleanest." He also shares how he handles stress and problems with, "I'm taking walks in the mornings just to clear my mind, dealing with a lot of shit, but still managed to smile." So as a whole, the first 4 songs were dope. Now, immediately after is Sweet Lady with Dej Loaf, and I would view it as the first track that I wasn't crazy about. That's not to say it was bad, but I didn't love its placement, and instrumentally, it was a bit dull for me. But I could see this getting some love on the radio and even being embraced by more casual listeners, so in that case, good enough job, Larry. Track 6, Pop Out with Schoolboy Q, has this late night cruising the highway feel. I was a fan of the velvety G-Funk synths, and the pop-out hook was catchy enough for being low-key. And speaking of low-key, Schoolboy Q's performance was a bit more subdued than normal. But this was another smooth record that fit in with that night shift aesthetic of the album. Track 7, The Great Escape with The Alchemist, is set to a lush, dreamy vocal harmony and some 808s. It's chill, but it has enough bounce to keep things interesting. While Larry's verse was solid, it was Uncle Al who stole the show, especially with his opening lines. "Eating heavy, I might have to switch the pant size. Standing on big business, stepping on a franchise. Trying to envision me rolling, go ahead and fantasize." And I just feel it was great to see The Alchemist rapping, doing these features as of late. Immediately after is Glass House Knockin', and it's a nice mashup of G-Funk and Bay Area mob music. The hook, it's simple but effective. It's just smooth but icy, hustling music, that you can vibe out to while running it up. Right after is Without You, a Blast interlude, and it finds Larry June and Blast doing some melodic crooning over this syrupy, atmospheric beat. Not a favorite, but it's a nice vibe, and I would say as far as singing Larry June songs go, it is better than his past efforts, like what we did here on Spaceships on the Blade, for instance. And I could also respect Larry June stepping outside his comfort zone with this big feature. Following this is GRGP, which stands for Good Rapper, Great Pimp. And it features the legendary Too Short and Detroit rapper Peasy, so we're getting that Detroit to Bay Area connection. The Peasy feature was one of my favorites on the project, though, because I just dug his aggressive delivery over this brisk Cardo production. And Peasy had some cool wordplay with lines like, drug dealer, I can never work where my daddy worked. He drove trucks, I drove trucks too, bringing back to work. After this is Stickin' and Movin', which has the funkiest and the punchiest beat on the whole album. We get this very slick, old school funk sample that's groovy and feel good. And Larry June is in his bag talking about sliding and running it up. And it was definitely a much needed song because of the more energetic beat. Track 12, Won't Wait, has a warm and soulful tone. Now this also has a standout sung vocal feature from Jordan Ward, who really does his thing on the hook. It's a more romantic record from Larry that's typically not what he is known for, but recently he has made more of these kinds of songs, no doubt. The subsequent track, Let Me Know, is also one of them. Now, the production and the sentiment here is slightly similar to the previous song in that he is talking about dating and making reservations, but instrumentally this one didn't do all that much for me. It was kind of sleepy in my opinion. Is it a bad song? No. Just a bit redundant considering the previous track. But track 14, Made Away with Payroll Giovanni. Now this is a highlight. Cardo provides these two ballers with a crisp G-Funk backdrop. And these two natural born hustlers are demonstrating the plenty ways of getting to it. Payroll Giovanni, he just doesn't seem to miss on Cardo production. He states, my daughter takes a nap in Maybach backseats, couldn't hoop, but now I'm living like an athlete. Following this is Road Running, another hustling anthem set to some heavy G-Funk synth. It's one more track that really taps into that whole late night making moves on a highway aesthetic. The second and last song is Big Fish with the Mexican rapper Alaman. So I like the bright and flavorful pianos, and all around it was just a refreshing instrumental. I also dug how Cardo sampled from RBL Posse to give it that classic Bay Area feel. Then the album closes out with The Good Kind, and it has another definitive Cardo sounding instrumental. It's just dripping with those dreamlike warm West Coast synths. And you can just picture Larry rolling on the highway, chasing after his goals. So overall, I'm gonna give this project a rating of 4 mics. I would say that it is more cohesive than Spaceships on the Blade, and just a little bit more entertaining of a listen than The Great Escape for me. Now, you might say, Mixtape Moth, you're bugging because The Great Escape is the best album of the year. Well, I do feel it's a good album, but I often find it a bit too low energy for me to really get into consistently. And while the production is still low-key here, there's still more of that Bay Area sound coming through to give it some bounce. And personally, I just think that sound works best for Larry June. That being said, there were a couple songs that I wouldn't likely return to. For example, Sweet Lady, Let Me Know, and possibly the song with Blast as well. But at the end of the day, this was a very consistent album with good features and enough dope tracks that I can see myself returning to it. My favorite tracks include Clocked In, Chops on the Blade, Love of Money, The Great Escape, Glass House Knockin', GRGP, Stickin' and Movin', Made Away, Road Running, Big Fish, and The Good Kind. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. It's your boy Mixtape Muff. I'm signing out, but as always, it's peace and blessings. Larry June and Cardo, The Night Shift.